Hey everybody, yesterday news broke that Atari acquired the Intellivision brand. I made a little video on it. Just to be clear, Atari has bought the Intellivision brand, the name, the logo, the original game library. They have not bought the Amico console or the Amico home service, but they have bought, like they said, it was like came to 200 games, and they said they'd license some of it back to Amico, whatever they're going to be called. They said Amico's going to have to, Intellivision Entertainment's going to have to be rebranded now, and they'll license the games back to them to put on their Amico products should they succeed. But today, what I want to focus on is what the future holds for the Intellivision brand, if you're a fan of the old school Intellivision and the brand itself, and for the Amico itself, if you're a fan of those. And I see these roads going two different directions. So first of all, this is Cloudy Mountain. This is a picture of Cloudy Mountain for the Amico. Don't know if it ever got fully finished or not, but it was one of the more exciting games for people following the system. Earthworm Jim 4 was probably the most, but this game and Night Stalker, these were probably the two most desired games of what Intellivision showed for the Amico. And of course, they've never been released. They may not be finished, but they're both owned by Digital Eclipse. Digital Eclipse is owned by Atari. And Atari now owns the Cloudy Mountain and Night Stalker brands. So the first thing I see happening for the Intellivision brand is I think Atari is going to finish and they're going to release these games. I think it's going to happen within the year, maybe even within 6 months. Like I said, they may want to even go in and update them. They may want to do some more than what's been done. They may need to finish them. But I think both of these games are going to be released on multiple platforms. And as a matter of fact, I think at this point, it's more likely that these games show up on the Atari VCS before Amico Home or the Amico console should it be released. I could be wrong, but I definitely think that that's a real possibility. So if you're a fan of these games, good news, the sale means these games are going to live, I believe. I also see Digital Eclipse maybe at some point making an Atari 50 style collection for the Intellivision. Now the Intellivision is only 45, so maybe they could make an Intellivision 45 or wait a few years, or who knows. But at some point in the future, I think we're going to see some compilations. And by the way, when Atari license out their products to like a My Arcade, like I have the My Arcade Gamer Pro thing, and it has games for other systems on it, not just Atari systems, you might now get Intellivision games on those systems with these licensing deal. Who knows? We'll see. But I could see an Intellivision 50 or 45 collection at some point in the future. I don't know if they'll be physical because the Intellivision brand, it's about 10 times less the Atari brand. The Atari 2600 outsold the Intellivision roughly, 10 to 1. So it doesn't have the same strength as an Atari name. But I do think there is a devoted fan base and following, so I do think this is possible. Now, I did hear some people theorize, what about an Intellivision Plus? Atari recently released the Atari 2600 Plus. It's a smaller system designed to look like a 4-switch Atari system, but it actually plays Atari cartridges, both the 2600 and 7800. And people said, what about an Intellivision Plus? It has HDMI, you plug cartridges in. Right now, I'm going to say I think that's unlikely. Personally, as an Intellivision fan, I would love to see that. But again, I don't think the brand is strong enough to support something like this. Now, maybe an Intellivision new mini flashback style console might be more likely, but even that, I'm not 100% sure. What I do think might be more likely, and I could be wrong, but you see they've been producing cartridges for the 2600 and 7800. Some are old games being republished. Some are games that never came out on the system, new games like Mr. Run and Jump. I could see them doing that. Blue Sky Network or the Blue Sky Rangers were kind of doing that on eBay. They made a new version of Spiker. They re-released Spiker, the volleyball game that's really hard to get, in a new packaging. It was the same game. And they also released some prototype games or unreleased games in cartridge format. So I could see Atari doing that now as well. But now let's talk about, so that's what I think is going to happen with the Intellivision brand. What's going to happen to Intellivision Entertainment and the Amico? Well, the first thing is they have to go through that rebranding. They're going to get a new name. They probably are going to lose the website. And that's going to be significant for something I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But I think they're going to lose the website. Atari might take it over from them. But this is from amicogames.com. This is a website of an Amico critic, and they were approached by someone anonymously to buy their website. First, it was $2,000. This was 2 months ago. Then they upped it to $3,500. I think this was the Intellivision entertainment people trying to get a new website, they were going to call themselves Amico Games, and maybe they still will. Personally, they have Amico Home. I've said this before. I think they should just call themselves Amico Home Entertainment and be done with it. Just call yourself Amico Entertainment, whatever. But they're going to get a new name. It does say something to me that the fact that Atari, they announced this news, they had shirts ready to go on their website. Intellivision, nothing. Their website's relatively the same. There's been a few adjustments to the shop. No press release from Intellivision as far as I've seen so far. Makes me think, and I might touch on that in a little bit. But if they do lose the website, that could be problematic for the physical edition, quote unquote, games, these RFID cards. Someone scanned the RFID cards and it went to a link at Intellivision.com. So I'm guessing you would scan the card on your system, which would be connected online. It would go to the Intellivision.com website and it would authorize the download of the game. But if you don't have the website, you can't. Those cards, you can't just magically change the link in those cards, I don't believe. They're not going to work, even if the console did get released. Unless Atari, talked to Intellivision and said, okay, we'll let you keep this part of the website, Intellivision.com, so people can activate their games should you actually release the console. Or if Intellivision offers to do an exchange program where you send your games in, they send you games with a new code on it. I don't know. But these things, which a lot of people were already saying were pretty much worthless, are now even worth less at this point in time. I don't know how these things would work at this point in time. And then let's talk about the Founders Edition. This is a screen grab from February 2020, over 4 years ago. People put $100 down. What were they buying? They weren't just buying a system. It was going to be signed by Tommy Tallarico. Who knows? Tommy's relationship with Amico, he never talks about it anymore. There's been rumors he's been forced out. Would he even sign the system? But I want to focus on 3 things that came in this package, valued at over $400. And that is the Intellivision Amico patch with the Running Man pin, and the Running Man lenticular poster. Guess what? All those things now, unless Atari gives them some sort of exclusion, not that they were ever formally finished, you can't put those in anymore because this is not an Intellivision Amico. It's just the Amico or whatever they're going to call it. It's not the Intellivision Amico, and the Running Man doesn't belong to you. At this point in time, the Founders Edition has lost more value. They might as well just give every Founders Edition pre-holder their refund and say, hey, if the system ever comes out, we'll honor the $299 price if you want, but we can't include the patch, the pin, or the poster, or we'll give you different ones. This is not what they were sold. And then if you go to the Intellivision shop on their website, there's still a lot of stuff. Now, I noticed they used to have more Intellivision stuff like Astro Smash t-shirts and Running Man posters, and that stuff's gone now. But they still have a lot of stuff that says Intellivision Amico. They're going to have to take that down eventually. This Rebel, that's a pixel from the game Utopia, an Intellivision game, which now Atari owns. The only thing that I can see that they are allowed to sell is the Finnegan Fox stuff. This is now a Finnegan Fox store. Oh, and these Amico Slate coasters. In this set right here, it has a Running Man mixed in. So let's go in. Let's see if you can still get these options. You can still get the Running Man. So if you want to get your last Running Man thing, go in and buy this 4 coaster set and pick one of the options with the Running Man. But they're going to have to change. They're going to have to drastically change the store. So do I think that the console's actually going to come out? We don't know how much money they got for this sale. I can't imagine it's that much. When they were talking about raising funds, they would brag about how they had a multi-million-dollar line of credit to manufacture the system. And I don't think they got enough money to manufacture the system. I really don't. I would be shocked if they had enough money to manufacture the system. So I don't think the system's coming out. And I would, at this point, I think I'd be shocked if they had enough money to manufacture just the controllers. They said they wanted to manufacture just the controllers to start with to work with Amico Home. And they wanted to do it by Christmas. We'll see. Maybe they got enough money for that and they actually decide to set it aside for that, but I don't know that they do. I do know, according to their Start Engine campaign, that they acquired a lot of debt. So wouldn't you think that maybe they have to pay a lot of this off to their debt? And they're going to pay themselves. I think, from what I hear, Nick Richards still on the payroll. Phil Adam on the payroll. John Alvarado's on the payroll. I think he has one or two of his kids working on porting games to Amico Home. They might be on the payroll as well. So don't be surprised if this money doesn't go towards any manufacturing. It just goes into their pockets. And I feel bad for the investors because I don't think this money is going to go to the investors. If you look at the history, when they sold BBG, did they ever tell the investors about that and that they'd get some money from it? No. When they started releasing Amico Home games, did they ever give investors any updates? No. Have they given? I don't think they'll give updates on this either, but yet the investors invested in part in the Intellivision name because they talked about, this is from their Republic campaign where they raised about $12 million, talking about their ties to the original Intellivision. This is one of the selling points. And there's many people who said I was a fan of the Intellivision and the reviews, and I invested because of that. Do they get a piece of the pie? They probably should, morally speaking, maybe even legally speaking, but I doubt it's going to happen. It would probably take a lawsuit for that to happen. And I don't even think that people are going to get their refunds who are still waiting. Last I heard, Mad Max, someone who used to support the Amico, he'd asked for a refund. They didn't give him one. I had another viewer just on my last video I posted a couple days ago, so that they're still waiting for their refund. They should, morally speaking, they should, and probably legally speaking, but, unless there's a lawsuit or something like that, it's probably not going to happen. If you judge Intellivision Entertainment, or not Intellivision Entertainment now, based on their past history, what don't they do? They don't give the investors anything. They don't give them updates. They don't give refunds out to the people who ask them, and they don't produce anything physical. All they do right now, all they've produced is Amico Home stuff. So I could see them finishing up the last few games on their roadmap. Finnegan Fox, Rigid Force Redux, Backtalk Party. It's possible that they use this money to relicense these games because the original deals probably didn't include for an Amico Home online thing. So they probably need this money to pay the devs to even put these games. So I think they'll do that. Best case scenario, maybe they make the controllers. But if you go to Google Play right now, none of these games are selling. Shark 100 plus downloads. Cornhole 50 plus. Missile Command 100 plus. Astro Smash 100 plus. None of these have hit the 500 download point. 50 plus for Dart Frenzy. 100 plus for Sideswipers. So if you judge everything based on their history, they might do a little bit more in Amico Home. And then I think they'll just close shop within a year. I really think the Amico thing will finally end within a year now because they're running out of things to do. They unless they got a chunk of money and they just spread it out so they can pay themselves but not give refunds. That would be awful. And not give investors anything. They just try to milk it until the cow is dead. At least that's what I think will happen. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.